Crew Transportation Collision Avoidance, CTCA. Module 2, we're going to look at the lethal 7, controllable accidents, personal safety awareness, situational awareness, and engaged versus disengaged driver. The lethal 7 are 7 unsafe behaviors that will lead to deadly accidents. Distracted driving, leading cause of accidents. So you have to ask yourself, do I stay on or off the phone when I'm driving? On the last trip I took in my personal vehicle, was I texting or talking on the phone? Because you create good driving habits by practicing them. So distracted driving is one of the lethal 7 accident types that leads to someone having to call a loved one. Speed, a driver operating at a speed safe for conditions. So you don't only look at the speed limit, you want to make sure you know what the speed limit is, but you're definitely not doing like this driver. You're driving over the speed limit. Sometimes the safe speed is driving 5 miles under the speed limit. Fatigue driving. Are you falling asleep while you're driving behind the wheel? That's a frightening scenario. And just think, if you go through a micro sleep, it may last 10 seconds, you can travel a football field or further, do a lot of damage in that distance. So you want to always understand that if you feel fatigue, but the scary part about it, you don't always feel fatigue. So you want to make sure you get adequate rest. But one of the countermeasures for fatigue driving, if you're taking a long trip, get out the vehicle every couple of hours, walk around the vehicle, get yourself some air, let the blood flow. We want to use the countermeasures for fatigue driving. We know we can stop and get rest if we are fatigued, but we want to work on not getting fatigued by using the countermeasures of getting out the vehicle and walking around. Intersection awareness. Ask yourself, why do so many accidents happen at intersections? Why do so many accidents happen at intersections? And you'll probably come to the conclusion that that's one of the few places that there's 2 cars that have the possibility to try to be in the same spot. Intersections, a lot of people don't know intersection protocol or intersection rules. You ask an individual, who has the right of way when they pull up to a stop sign. Generally, they'll say the person to the left. But actually, no one has the right of way. If you look back in your driver's manuals, it'll tell you to yield the right of way to the other person. So intersection awareness is important. But you want to scan that intersection for hazards. You want to make sure no drivers are running the red light or stop sign. You want to make sure that they're not doing the next lethal behavior, that they're not responding late. So late response is once the driver focused on the car or road immediately in front of them, so they didn't see that the traffic ahead of them had stopped or slowed up. So you want to focus as you're scanning down the road to the next signal ahead, therefore still staying focused on that vehicle that's directly ahead of you. Following too close. Rear-end collisions are one of the most common accident types on the road today. They can usually be avoided by simply keeping as large as following distance as possible. Using that 4-second following rule so that you're not following too close. So if something happens, you can react to it. Failure to leave an out. Keeping an out means you always have room around your vehicle to escape any potential traffic hazards. So you don't want to, lock yourself in between vehicles and guardrails, or vehicles and vehicles. You don't want to drive on a 6-lane highway and be in the middle lane going the exact same speed as everybody else and tailgating someone so there's no out. So just make sure that if something happens, you always have an exit for that traffic situation or that hazard. Now we're going to look at the deadly 5 accidents and kind of correlate as we go through these how they all tie together, how the lethal 7 correlates with the deadly 5. Understand that correlation between them. Rear-end collisions. The best way to avoid being rear-ended in a rear-end collision is to be aware of what's going on behind you. You want to look back to avoid impact. You want to scan your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. You pull up to an intersection. You want to make sure you leave yourself room so you've got an out in case somebody comes up too fast and can't stop. You can maybe pull to the side and avoid an accident. You're traveling on the highway. You want to always look back and scan your mirrors. So if traffic ahead of you stop abruptly, if you need to make an evasive maneuver by moving to the other lane or pulling off on the shoulder because the traffic stopped and the vehicle behind you is traveling too fast to come to a stop, you can do that. So to avoid rear-end collisions, you want to look back to avoid impact. Head-on collisions. Accidents can produce serious injuries and even death in its victims. If both vehicles are traveling at 45 miles per hour at the time of the crash, the impact is now a 90 mile per hour impact. Head-on collisions are so deadly, in fact, that they cause a full 10% of all automobile fatalities. Because you think about it, you're gonna add the speed of both of those cars that's coming at each other together to give you the impact speed. Rollover collisions. Rollover crashes are some of the most dangerous accidents in the U.S. Nearly 11% of automobile fatalities are due to rollover accidents. A lot of time that comes from traveling too fast for conditions, maybe swerving to try to avoid something because you reacted too late. So we want to make sure that, we're operating in a behavior that we can react to changes around us, that we have an out. Sideswipe collisions. Sideswipe impact collisions are one of the most dangerous accidents. They make up 21% of all automobile-related fatalities. Side impact crashes most often occur in intersections, parking lots, or on highways or other high-traffic roads. So those side collisions, the airbag deploys on the side or on the front. That side collision could cause the vehicle to be tossed over. So you want to make sure that, and you look at these stats, it's astonishing that 21% of accidents lead to fatalities, 11%, 10%, high number of accidents and high number of fatalities. And then you look at off-road crashes. The most deadly type of accidents is when a vehicle veers off the road and crashes into another object, such as a telephone post, concrete pylon. These accidents are the most deadly, making a tragic 32% of fatality accidents. The main cause of the off-road accidents are inclement weather, distracted driving, that cell phone, that texting, falling asleep at the wheel, drunk driving, of course. And when we look back at distracted driving, remember, you got the cognitive distraction where you're driving down the road, you're not focused on driving, you're thinking about something else. Now you're thinking about something, you take your cell phone and you have to now dial the phone. So you've been distracted cognitively, you've taken one of your hands off the wheel, and now you've taken your eyes off the road to dial the phone. And off the road you go and have a crash. The controllable 9. We're going to look at some behaviors here that's deadly. So, guys, if you look at it, we've got a compilation of different type accidents that lead to very serious or deadly outcomes. A backing behavior is a vehicle traveling in reverse under control of the driver impacting an object or another vehicle. We also travel a lot at night. We travel a lot in rural areas. So we have a high number of animal hits. So if an animal hit is preventable, it goes into our controllable accident category. That means the driver was driving too fast for conditions when they impact the animal. Overdriving their headlights. They were driving faster than they could stop in distance lit by their headlights. They were speeding, failed to properly scan, or they veered to miss a deer. And unfortunately, a lot of times that causes the driver to go off the road to hit an object. And again, we talk about speeding. Speeding is not always necessarily driving above the speed limit. It can be sometimes driving too fast for conditions. So you want to make sure you know the speed limit and then adjust accordingly. Lost control. Anytime the vehicle is not under the control of the driver, vehicle leaves the roadway, or the vehicle unintentionally leaves the roadway, resulting in an impact. Another one of our controllable 9s, which are high-cost accidents, are water and flooding. And not even from the aspect of just the cost of it, they're very dangerous accidents. I know you guys have all seen at some point in time on the Weather Channel or the news where a vehicle was out in the middle and the rescue workers had to endanger themselves to rescue someone because their vehicle had gotten into a flooded area. So let's make sure that we don't drive into standing water. We don't drive into moving water. If you don't know how deep it is, turn around, take another route. Rear-end other vehicle. Driver impacting another vehicle from the vehicle's rear. Hit stationary object. Impacted a stationary object on the roadway or path of travel. Basically, just pole was sitting there and we hit it. There was a box in the road and we hit it. We hit something that was not moving. How a vehicle hit other vehicle can occur in many situations, but any impact to another vehicle from a PTI vehicle is hit other vehicle. The last two we're going to look at is hit train and hit rail equipment. Hit train is a vehicle coming in contact with any part of a train while under the driver's control, and the train is in motion. Vehicle coming in contact with any object protruding or extending from the train. A lot of times these can be deadly. Sometimes they're not, but any time you hit a train, even though it may seem like it was a minor accident, if you look at the other side of that, probably a difference in inches, it could have been deadly. So train hits are very serious. Hit rail equipment. Vehicle coming in contact with any rail equipment. That's why when you're in the rail yard, you want to do that critical survey. As you're approaching the switches and you're approaching other railroad equipment, it's better to stop way away from it than to take the chances and get too close. Because again, if you're operating in the rail yard and there are switches, if you get too close, you won't see that switch outside the vehicle, and now you're driving blind. So, and if you happen to get yourself in that situation and realize that that switch disappeared, immediately stop, because you don't know where it's at. So to be safe is to be an engaged driver. An engaged driver naturally is a safe driver. Engaged drivers drive at a safe speed. They don't drive distracted. They ensure that he or she is rested before driving. They obey all traffic rules and traffic laws. And they definitely follow intersection protocol. But now what I would ask you to do is add 3 more items to that list of what makes an engaged driver. And then add an item or 2 to that list to what makes you a disengaged driver. And then why would a driver be disengaged? You may receive a training audit from our safety department. This is probably one of the questions they'll ask you and talk to you about. When you completed your engaged section, what was your 3 items you added to the list? Why do you think drivers are sometimes disengaged? How do we change a disengaged driver to an engaged driver? Next, we're going to look at personal safety awareness. We're going to ask ourselves a question. What is personal safety awareness? It's always being aware of your surroundings. And then you're going to ask yourself, what is hazard recognition? Being able to identify hazards before they result in injury. And then what is a risk analysis? Analyzing the probability and severity of risk in order to reduce the possibility that harm will occur. Because, guys, at the end of the day, everybody's hope and goal is that you make it back home safely. So make sure you're aware of your personal surroundings, your personal safety awareness, that you're always looking at what hazard am I facing and how can I keep that from harming me or injuring me. So situational awareness is being aware of what is happening around you in terms of where you are, where you're supposed to be, and whether anyone or anything around you is likely to cause an accident. That's a defensive driver. You're using that what-if strategy. So you're being aware of your surroundings and saying, what defensive driving techniques should I be ready to use based off the fact that that vehicle is driving too fast behind me, or that vehicle is crossed the center line? That's situational awareness. See, our knowledge and experience and education enables us to understand what is going on around us and help us to determine if it's safe. This means that everyone's situational awareness is individual and potentially different. We use our situational awareness to make decisions to ensure your safety. And guys, when you're having a conversation with your fellow drivers, discuss situational awareness. Discuss what were some of the potentials and hazards that they faced out there. What were some of the challenges? Because if you took a trip to the same place that they're fixing to go to, or vice versa, you're probably going to have some of the same challenges. And so you can do a huddle with them and talk about those challenges and how do we overcome those. So situational awareness, to improve your situational awareness, you get in the habit of regularly pausing to make a quick mental assessment of your driving environment. When doing so, consider the following question. Is there anything around you that could cause an accident or pose a threat to your health and safety? And if so, to what extent? Is there anything you can do to safely reduce that threat in order that you can ensure your safety? You should always be thinking along those lines. What could happen? What can I do to avoid it? What could go wrong? What can I do to prevent it? So we even got to think about it this way. Situational awareness has to take place when you're outside the vehicle, inside the vehicle. Because even if you're the guy that's walking across the street, you've got to be aware of your situation. If you're the individual driving the car, you've got to definitely be aware of your situation and realize there could be someone walking off the sidewalk, reading the newspaper, and not paying attention. So you want to make sure that you're aware of your situation if you're the driver, always, but make sure you're aware of your situation if you're walking or you're the foot traffic, because all people don't practice defensive drive. So make the 6 principles of positive safety culture your habit. Remember, safety starts with me, and that me is each one of us individually. So safety begins with you. Then you want to know what safe looks like. That's why you're going through the training with us and going through the training process, the road test, the rail yard demonstration training. Because if you don't understand the phases of safety and the different components of safety, you don't know what safe looks like. Then you want to understand that you want to speak up for safety. If you see something wrong, you want to make sure you're having that discussion with your branch manager, your local safety committee. After you've been here and passed your 90-day introductory entry period. You want to get involved, but you want to get involved from the onset. But you can get involved by being a member of the safety committee. But the best way you can get involved and be involved at all times is to always drive safely. But if you see a hazard or a risk out there, make sure you discuss that with your branch manager, because we all have to own the results. You may have a perfect driving record, but if you fail to inform the branch manager of a hazard or a risk out there, in your location have multiple accidents that month, those are still your results. So you want to make sure that you own the results of your branch. And then you have to make sure that you understand empowerment. Empowerment means I have the ability to do the right thing without repercussions. So if someone asks you to do something that's not safe, because safety begins with you, professionally let them know I can't do that. Don't feel like something's going to happen to you, because the company, your manager, is going to support you. And in that case, you want to make sure you're having that discussion with your manager. At the crew asked me to go down a road that you instructed me during that rail yard demonstration training not to go down, and I didn't go down that road. I want to let you know that, because all drivers don't execute their empowerment the way they should do. So therefore, you can help your manager by getting involved with safety, by speaking up, because you knew what safe looked like. You didn't go down that road. You own the results of being a safe driver on that trip, because you let safety begin with you.